Welcome to the GraceFully Educated podcast. I'm your host, Carmela Carter. This is the place where we blend faith, wisdom, and learning with grace. And I today have the absolute pleasure of sitting with Dr. Tonya Breland. Yay! I have been admiring you from afar off.
Thank you.
And then when we both got the opportunity to speak in the same space a couple of weeks ago, I guess, right?
It's been about a month.
About a month ago, I was just like, I can't wait. I can't wait to have her on the podcast because of the wisdom that you shared.
Thank you.
So we met a long time ago.
Yes.
About maybe 9 years ago.
Maybe, give or take.
Yeah. And I forgot all about it until you reminded me. So I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to hear your journey into education. I know your story is going to bless our viewers.
Thank you.
So let's jump right in.
Let's jump in.
Okay, so how did you get into education? Like, where did this all start for you?
So it started when I was in first grade.
Okay.
That's when I decided I want to be a teacher because I had an amazing teacher who looked like me, Mrs. Betty Clark, and she made me feel very special as a child. So this was a time that my parents had recently divorced.
Okay.
So there was a lot going on emotionally, although I wasn't really fully aware of that. Years later, I had a chance to find her. And she said, I don't really remember what was going on with you, but I felt like I needed to hold you close. But she was the one that inspired me. Like, I wanted to be a teacher like her.
Wow.
Because she was the reason, she made me feel like I was the only kid in her class. Even inviting me home to her house one day.
Because back in the day, you could do that.
You could do that.
Yes.
There's no way you could do that now.
Because I went home with my 5th grade teacher before. Okay. I stayed the night at her house and everything.
Oh, that's so
but
nice.
now you will get arrested.
Yeah, that's not going to fly. But, it was the birth of this, dream to go into education. But somebody talked me out of it. By the time I got to college, I don't know who, they're like, oh, you can't really make any money in teaching and whatever. And so I studied psychology. I went to the Howard University, HU,
Okay. Shout your HBCU out, okay?
Yeah, and so at Howard I studied psychology.
Okay.
And then I left, after I graduated, I left and started working in social services. And it was while I was working in social services that I realized I needed to go into education, which was my childhood dream. And I did. So I went the alternate route and started teaching in East Orange, New Jersey, which is an urban district. Started teaching 7th grade. Hated it. It's not for me.
Middle school is a challenge.
Oh my goodness. It's like challenge. Today they're like, oh, I love you, Mrs. Breland. You're so wonderful. And the next day it's like, I can't stand you. Expletive. And it's like, what in the world? Like nothing happened, But that was not my grade.
Yeah.
So the district was actually opening kindergarten schools, and I went to my principal and I was like, any chance I can go down to that kindergarten school next year? And he approved the transfer, and so I went from 7th grade to kindergarten, which was huge.
Right.
Yeah, and then you want me to keep going?
Yes, okay. This story is awesome. I'll jump in when I need to.
So I did that for a few years before relocating to this area of New Jersey, which is a good hour plus south. And then I started teaching 4th grade, which I loved kindergarten. I love 4th grade, but for different reasons.
Yes.
Kindergartners, they're just like sponges. They can take it all in.
I can't do kindergarten.
Yeah, I mean, it wore me out. It wore me out. Those kids, it's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work, but there was a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And it's like they were just so open to learn, and they learned whatever you presented them with. Like they were just like taking it all in. Like they had no filters. There was nothing to stop them. And I believed in them. I believed that they could learn whatever. And I would speak to them on high levels, where they would say, what does that mean? And that was exactly where I wanted them. Like, because now I can impart. But they would get into little debates about things.
Right.
Like, there's no such thing as Santa Claus. Yes, there is. And they would come to me and I'm like, talk to your parents.
Right. You're not getting me in that.
I'm not getting in the middle of that mess.
Okay.
But yeah, and so I taught in Burlington County before going into administration.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where you are now?
No.
Oh, man. So wait, you went into administration as a...
first as a vice principal for 3/4 of the year. I'd won a national award in education while teaching 4th grade. So that was amazing. The Milk and Family Foundation actually found me and awarded me with a National Educator Award. There were 2 of us in the state that year.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I became a principal the following year and worked a little further south in a small urban district.
Okay.
And it was a school that was in need of improvement. I had a chance to turn it around.
Nice.
And remove it from the state's list of schools.
Mm-hmm.
We worked hard to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left and started my own educational consulting firm.
Okay.
So that's what I do now.
Okay.
But in between, I did go to the state. I was called to work up there for about not quite 4 years.
Okay.
Where I really championed educational equity.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was a small portion of my job, but it was something that I loved because it had so much meaning to me when you think about the gaps and the inequities that exist in schools specifically for students that look like you and me. I really just felt it was important that that we lend a voice to this issue and address it.
Right.
And so that was a lot of the work that I did when I left and relaunched my business in 2021. And brought on a business partner, Dr. Erica Leek. Shout out.
Shout out. Hey, Erica. Hope you're watching this.
Yes. And so, and we've been doing that work ever since.
So
That was a lot.
No. And I love the a lot because it goes to show that the whole purpose of this podcast is to help educators stay in education, right? And to give them different avenues in education. So it's for that worn, burnt out, like I'm done with education person. And looking at your journey and seeing your journey from first grade, then there was a detour, then back on track for what you know that God has called you to. And starting from, you know what, I'm going to this classroom in 7th grade and I hate it. This is not for me. And those are some of the challenges that we face as educators. We're like, and maybe someone may be listening and thinking, you know what, I hate my job. But it may not be that you hate your job. It very well may be that this is not the space for me.
Right.
So how did you know in that moment, this 7th grade is not the space for me. But then when I transitioned to elementary, you know what, this feels a little bit better, you know? So how did you just know without saying, hating it?
Yeah, I wasn't myself. I knew that I was not myself. I felt like I had to be somebody else to operate well in that space, and I didn't like that. I would leave with headaches, and I was stressed. And I'm like, this is not the right fit, and I just felt that on the inside, it's not the right fit. And sometimes that happens, and sometimes God will show us that something's not a right fit by making us uncomfortable, and then when we're uncomfortable enough, we'll move. And so for me, I was not comfortable in that space, and that was okay.
Yeah.
I did a great job as best as I could in that space, but I knew I wasn't myself, and I knew that there was more and there was better. So I, went and made that transition, and it was a good transition for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of going, I'm done. Okay, I'm in psychology in the Board of Social Services. No,
it was social services. Yeah,
services.
Yeah, basically social work. Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I go to education. I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna just transition.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge for you. And what was that transition like? Was it a breath of fresh air? Was it like, okay, I am supposed to be here? Or was it like, okay, I'm gonna just make my way in here? Like, what did that feel like?
So I felt like it was a long time ago, but I felt like it was something that I was supposed to be doing. Like it was a part of that path, that journey.
Right.
And it felt right. So, while in social services, I did a lot of work with adults who really didn't care to make change, and I think for me, part of it was like, I want to work with people who want to do something, who want to grow, and who want to, learn, and so that's when I was like, I think I need to go back to that thing that I always said I wanted to do, which was education.
Right.
And that's the direction that I took, and it was a good move. It was a really good move, and all of it kind of brought me to like where I am today. Like I really feel everything was very intentional, and like the different doors open for different purposes. And even in the work that I do now, I don't just work with school districts, but I also work with individuals, and I help them along their purpose journey as well. So that's another piece of me, and that's another piece that God has given me to do.
I can't wait to hear all about that. I'm going to dig deep, dive into that. But before I do that, I want to ask you the transition from teacher to leadership.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm in a journey. I'm going to ask her for her advice. So where I was in an administration role.
Okay.
And I will be going into a teaching role. I was already in so I started as a teacher, as a medical assistant, post-secondary.
Okay.
Then I went to administration. Now I'm going back into teaching. But my goal is to be a principal, school principal.
Okay.
So, going from the classroom to the principal, what was that like? Was that in the same school? Did your peers?
So, yeah, it was not in the same school when I became a principal. I was a teacher leader as a teacher. Mm-hmm. So I always knew I was going to be a principal. Like when I went into teaching, it was like, yeah, I'm going to be a principal,
mm-hmm.
And so
absolutely.
I'm a leader. So as a leader, you kind of know that you're going to be following a leadership path. Mm-hmm. And so that was an easy transition, like psychologically, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then I had a principal who mentored me while I was, going through finishing my master's program. And he was very supportive, and I would follow him, and he would give me, opportunities to lead further. So, like, I led the summer school, mm-hmm. and I led, a student achievement committee. I can't remember the name of the committee. Mm-hmm. I led some professional development in the school. So he gave me different opportunities to really kind of like rise. So when I transitioned into the vice principal role, that was an easy transition because, first of all, I had a good rapport with everyone. I had been in their classrooms. I had spent time, evaluating, but not officially. Mm-hmm. Just kind of, they allowed me to come in and give them feedback, and that was really a good experience for me. So it was an easy transition to move into that vice principal position. And unlike a lot of the vice principals that I hear whose jobs are just discipline, that was not mine. Mm. Yeah. Great. So my principal, who by that time was a new principal, but he had been one of the vice principals, but he was, he saw me as an instructional leader and depended on me to help create change and help create situations where the success that I had in the classroom, mm-hmm. I could help others have that same level of success. Mm. Because I did, thank God, thrive mm-hmm. as a teacher. Like my students had some of the highest scores, in the
humbly
school.
Brag. Humbly brag.
But I worked hard,
yes, absolutely.
And I believe. So the biggest thing wasn't as much my hard work as it was the belief that I had in the students.
Gotcha.
And what they are able to do.
Gotcha.
And I absolutely believe that they could succeed and and thrive. And because I came through the alternate route, I feel like I had a different lens.
I agree.
Yeah.
Not for you, for me. Like, yeah. I agree, you do.
Yes.
You do have a different lens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't come up the way that most teachers came up. Mm-hmm. So my expectations were like here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember a parent complaining that she thought I was making things too hard for her son. And I'm like, I believe he can do it, and I'm going to support him.
Yeah.
To me, like, he's going to succeed.
Right.
And he did. Uh-huh. And he worked hard to succeed.
Right.
But to me, like, I never lowered my standards.
No.
I just helped them to get up there. So it's like, if they need extra support, give them that support.
Right.
And as a leader, my goal was to help other teachers do the same thing.
Right.
To be able to raise the bar.
Right.
And have high expectations, develop really strong relationships with their students. That's the key too. Right. Because I had a really good rapport with my students. I didn't have discipline issues. Other teachers complained, but I didn't send kids to the office. Right. I wasn't one of those teachers. Right. Like I had enough of a relationship with them mm-hmm. that I could talk to them about whatever's going on. Yeah. And if it became too much of a problem, I would talk to their parents.
Yes.
But, it was really about the relationship that I had with them, the high expectations, and then I didn't do class like everybody else. So it wasn't whole class instruction. I was doing small groups. I was like the queen of differentiation. So you could walk into my classroom and you could see 15 things going on at one time and wonder what is happening here. But I wanted that kind of questioning. I didn't mind if an administrator would see that. because I could tell them what was happening.
Right.
And the kids could tell them what was
I
happening.
bet your lesson plans was like, wait, what?
Yeah. My kids they had a menu of activities that they would do throughout the day.
I love that.
And it didn't look the same every day. So they got to choose. There were things they had to do, and then there were things they could choose to do.
I'm still in that.
Yes, please do. Take it. It was a wonderful experience for them. But they thrived in that environment because they had choice.
Yeah.
And they got to make decisions. And it made them take ownership of their learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoyed teaching, but I also enjoyed being an administrator as well.
Yeah.
Because I was able to help kind of set the tone for what was going on in the building. And, for me, that tone had to be warm. It had to be inviting. It had to be fun. It was important that kids were enjoying themselves. When I was a kindergarten teacher, my principal said to me, "You are here to make memories for these children." Like, never should a child hate school.
Yeah.
If they hate school, that's you.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about taking on responsibility for someone's life.
Yeah. But it was easy. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to create an environment where you are literally making memories for these children.
Right.
They're learning.
And I love this idea of like not lowering the bar.
Right.
I don't care where you are, kindergarten, 7th grade, 12th grade, I'm not lowering the bar. And I think sometimes parents lower the bar for their own child because they have a different level of compassion, right? And they're like, oh, my baby. Whereas we're like, I love you and I'm compassionate. And because I love you, I'm going to push you to your limits. I'm going to stretch you like that rubber band.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to lower the bar. You're going to succeed. And it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I love that. So now, talk about raising the bar. Let's talk about this thing with you, your company.
Yes.
With you and Erica.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How
Yes.
you transitioned into that. What made you spark? Like, what was the spark that made this transition?
It was really the success that I had as a principal turning it around.
Gotcha.
So I felt like if I can have an impact in this one school, I can have an impact in other schools.
Very true.
So that's what I did. So I went out there and I failed in the first 6 months, like miserably. Like I did not know what I was doing. And it wasn't that I didn't know what I was doing in education, but I did not know what I was doing in business. I had no business experience. I had no business mentors. So I went out there on faith. I might have jumped a little bit ahead of God in that, but and I
love
learned.
the honesty.
I love
the honesty here.
I learned from it.
Right.
But the idea really was, I believe that that all students can be successful. We just have to create that environment.
Absolutely.
For them. And so that was my whole mission, to help students succeed. So that was back in 2011 when I did that. And then I actually went to the state, which is where Eric and I connected, in 2018, I believe it was. And we just hit it off, and we worked together on the equity piece that I mentioned, because I used to host a statewide equity conference when I was at the state. And so, I was there until 2021, and then I left and relaunched the business, and Erica officially joined me at the top of 2022. And we've, just been doing this work, plugging along, and, really trying to make an impact.
So what does that look like? Share with like a day in the life of Dr. Breland. Like, what does this look like, the impact that you're making?
So the impact, it looks different every day.
Okay.
But it could mean that we are in a school, working with the administrators or working with the teachers or other staff members. Occasionally we'll work with students, but for the most part we tend to work with the adults. And it really is about helping them to see their students, to value them, to nurture the greatness that's inside of them. So we have this whole movement that we've started around nurturing greatness, which is seeing the brilliance. So like, you are a brilliant young woman, you come into this classroom, I don't care what your story is, I see you, I value you, and I want to create an environment where you are going to succeed and thrive. And so that is a lot of the work that we really are trying to do right now, which is really helping to nurture that greatness. And what I have found, so there's a connection between that work and some of the purpose work that I do, is like, if the teacher can see that student and can see the gifts and the talents and the abilities that student comes into the classroom with, because they all have them. We're born with gifts. And if we can see it and cultivate it and nurture that, then we won't have a bunch of adults who are chasing their purpose, trying to figure out who they are and what they're supposed to do with their lives.
I want to jump in.
Please do.
Because I know you guys finished telling us of what you guys do the day in the life, but I love this idea of nurturing the greatness. I am a culture leader. No matter where I go, I can walk into an atmosphere and I am graced to see how to elevate the experience, right? And so I believe that a lot of teachers don't build great relationships with their scholars, which then ultimately lead to behavior issues.
Right.
But this nurturing the greatness says, I'm going to build a relationship, and it's going to be an intentional relationship.
Absolutely.
And this relationship, now I'm going to get to see who you are, how you function, what you came home to school with, you know?
Yeah.
And one of the ways that I've taught my teachers in the past to do is circles. I'm sure you heard of like restorative circles, where we're able to just sit, and I said, now get to learn your scholar, because you don't know them. The only thing you see is the behaviors,
right.
But you don't know what's really happening, what's going on at home, because then you could speak to that.
That's
and once
right.
you speak to that, and they feel like you see them,
right,
you can give them the mom look, because I do it all.
It's true. Right.
Get it together, you know. But without relationship building, we're not able to nurture the greatness,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
see the greatness.
And that's one of the tenets of our Nurturing Greatness Blueprint. It is about having these authentic relationships with kids.
Yes.
And by that I mean just exactly what you said, like really knowing who they are, you know, and what value they bring into their classroom space.
Right.
I tell the story sometimes of how when I was a kid, and you could probably tell, I talked a lot, you know.
Me too. I got in trouble for talking.
I did too.
My 6th grade teacher told me, and I'm gonna tell you, one day somebody gonna bash you in your face because you talk too much.
Oh, how about I was absent in 6th grade? I don't know what it is about 6th grade. In 6th grade, I was absent, and the teacher was like, "Stop talking, Tonya," and I wasn't even there. So he was so used to telling me to stop talking that when somebody else was doing it, he thought it was me.
Right, right.
But I felt like when I look back, like that was an opportunity for the teacher to see this student has a gift.
Yep.
You know, not just a gift of gab, but she's got a voice. There's a voice. There's something that she has to say.
Yeah.
And we need to be creating environments where where we can nurture those gifts.
Absolutely.
So what if they were like, okay, you know what, she's a speaker. Let's try to find opportunities for her to speak. Like, when can she present? You know, are there opportunities outside of the classroom that we could cultivate for her? They didn't do that. They weren't they just saw it as a negative and tried to, like, you know, stifle me. And I'm sure other students, right? You too.
Absolutely.
You know, and by stifling us, what does that do? It says to us that, well, that's not something you can do.
Right.
You know, you shouldn't do that. And yet it is a gift that God has given us.
Yep. Or the child that can't stay still.
Yep.
You know what? You can't say, great, I need you to run. Here's a pass. And I trust you to get through these hallways because you represent me. You know, make them feel like it's...
Absolutely.
And then get them up and go in, so when they come back, they're back focused.
Right. Give them reasons to move. But also creating an environment in the classroom where they're not just sitting all day long. You know, like I did very little whole group instruction. So, meaning there might have been 10 minutes of whole group instruction and the rest, and I had the kids for like 2 periods at a time. The rest of that time, they were all over the place doing all different sorts of things.
Right.
And they had, you know, like I said, they had choice. So they were not just sitting at their desk all day long, you know, looking at some papers or whatever. Like, it was really about like getting them moving. And, you know, if they enjoyed one thing, like there were times that they could, if there were projects that we would do, that they could present the projects in the way that they enjoyed it. So if they were actors, then let them act. You know, if they were orators, let them speak. If they were artists, let them create. You know, like, and you can do it all in the content areas that you teach. You just have to be creative in doing it. And that's part of that nurturing greatness.
Right.
And I think it's just really critical.
Wow.
And missing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So how could a person who's watching, who say, I love what Dr. Breland is speaking and I want to get in touch with her. Yeah. How could they contact you? Administrators, teachers, do you guys do one-on-one coaching too? Or
we do.
Okay, great.
Yep. So you can go to our website. TESO Consulting Group is TESO, which stands for Teach Educators and Scholars Organization.
Okay, it's on the screen.
Yes. TESOconsultinggroup.com.
Okay.
Or you can go to our Nurturing Greatness website, which is brand new, nurturinggreatness.info.
Okay.
And so you can learn more about the Nurturing Greatness movement and the work of Nurturing Greatness.
Oh, I would love to learn about the Nurturing Greatness movement. I can't wait to go to the website because I am so passionate about education, and not just education, helping educators be great at their craft. Don't run from it.
Right.
Stay in it. Right. So if you had to leave some sort, and I hate this conversation is ending, It's definitely not.
It went
ended for
fast.
It did. It
Yeah,
did. That
yeah.
30 minutes go. Woo. But I'm going to contact you because I love, what you guys are doing. But if you had to leave some inspiring words to our educators with your wealth of knowledge and wisdom, you left a lot of wisdom here on the table.
Thank you.
And if I was you, I would rewind and take notes because I know I will be doing that. What would you say to the audience?
So that's always a good question. I think that going back and knowing your why. So why did you go into education in the first place? Most people don't go in it to make money, but we go in it to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And I think if we keep that why at the forefront, when it gets difficult, when it gets challenging, we go back to the why. And that why is what keeps us moving forward. And we never lose hope when we know that we're doing it for the right reason. Right. And if you get to a place where you're so frustrated, you're so tired, reevaluate your why. Because there are times that I believe that God will give us a different assignment in a different season. So it might be an opportunity for you to look at, is this a time period where I need to look at another assignment? Mm-hmm. And maybe it doesn't deviate from education, but maybe it looks different in education. And that's okay too. As long as you're making a difference, as long as you are doing what you know you're supposed to be doing, you're on the right track.
Wow. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for the words of inspiration, and thank you so much for joining us here on the GraceFully Educated podcast.
And thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yes.
And thank you guys for listening in and tuning in. And if you have been inspired today, I need you to drop Dr. Breland a comment, put a like, share this video, because encouragers need encouragement.
Thank you.
Trust me.
That's right.
Encouragers need encouragement. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching this episode of the GraceFully Educated podcast, where we definitely learn faith, wisdom, and we learn with grace. Have an amazing day. Bye.
See you later.